J.D. Power just revealed that millions of SUV shoppers in 2026 are about to make the exact same costly mistake, and most won't realize it until years later, when it's way too late. Not because they picked a factory-defective SUV, but because they relied on the wrong reasons, bad advice from salespeople, flashy features that don't matter, and brands that used to mean quality, but don't anymore. When J.D. Power dug deep into what really happens after the initial purchase, how brutally some SUVs lose their value over time, how quickly unexpected repair bills start piling up, and which popular models quietly jack up your insurance without any warning. The rankings shifted in a way most buyers would never expect. But what surprised me the most about J.D. Power's rankings is how totally different the list looks when you stop judging SUVs solely by their historical reputation or brand prestige. Some models that people trust automatically out of tradition didn't perform as well when real long-term ownership experiences were factored in. At the same time, several SUVs that most buyers overlook without even considering them ended up ranking significantly higher simply because they make more sense and are cheaper to live with, year after year without any surprises. If you're planning to buy or trade in your SUV in 2026, this breakdown could save you from a decision you deeply regret down the road. Because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which SUVs truly deserve to be called the best options out there, and which ones just look impressive on paper, but flop in real life. But before we keep going, if this content is helping you make a smarter buying decision, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more breakdowns like this that could save you thousands in costly mistakes. All right, let's dive into the first pick that exposes a fundamental mistake most buyers don't even realize they're making every day. Number 1, the Mazda CX-70, where the truly smart buyers are quietly heading. Most people actively shopping for an SUV in 2026 firmly believe they only have two options: go with the conventional and predictable and settle for the basics, or pick a well-known luxury brand and overpay big time for the badge. The data compiled by J.D. Power clearly shows that the Mazda CX-70 quietly breaks that false choice. Let me break it down with real numbers. The Mazda CX-70 delivers the kind of interior quality and everyday driving comfort that's usually only associated with entry-level luxury SUVs, but without the brutal financial hit that inevitably shows up after the purchase. J.D. Power's in-depth ownership data consistently shows that when you step into the segment of established luxury brand SUVs, three costs skyrocket at the same time. Depreciation hits way harder during those critical first years. Insurance premiums climb for no apparent reason, and out-of-warranty repairs become prohibitively more expensive than with mainstream brands. The CX-70 strategically dodges those three financial pain points. And this is where genuinely smart buying in 2026 gets really interesting. On paper, plenty of different SUVs look like good deals up front, but J.D. Power's detailed cost of ownership metrics are where the CX-70 truly stands out from the pack. You not only pay significantly less at the dealership to start, you also slash the chances of costly financial surprises further down the line. Mazda's historical maintenance patterns tend to be way more predictable than direct competitors that bet big on unnecessary aggressive tech or overly complicated powertrains. And that mechanical predictability is exactly what keeps long-term financial stress low for owners. Resale value is the critical part that most buyers completely ignore until it's too late to change their mind. J.D. Power's documented resale trends prove that while Mazda doesn't beat Toyota and Honda at the absolute top of the value retention charts, it does consistently outperform many SUVs in the same price range that go all in on flashy premium design or gimmicky features that quickly become outdated. That means, in real terms, when you eventually decide to trade it in or sell it on the used market, the CX-70 tends to give you back more money than people initially expect. So if you're seriously looking for one of the best SUVs to buy in 2026, and you genuinely care about daily comfort, hassle-free usability, and not feeling like your wallet is getting punished over time, the CX-570 has rock-solid arguments in its favor that you can't ignore. It's not flashy in a parking lot, and it's not extreme in specs. It's just a much smarter place to put your money than a lot of SUVs that look better in ads. But here's the unexpected twist. What if spending less up front was actually the smartest long-term move? The next SUV makes that case in a way most buyers don't see coming at all. Number 2. The Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid, where your money stops leaking away non-stop. Let me start with something totally unexpected. Because most people shopping for an SUV in 2026 are aiming way higher than they actually need for their daily use. And J.D. Power's ownership data quietly punishes that expensive habit. Here's the pattern J.D. Power shows over and over in different studies. The SUVs that cost less in the long run are rarely the ones with the biggest touchscreens, unnecessary extra horsepower, or the most aggressive, eye-catching exterior designs. They're the ones that sip fuel consistently, don't scare insurers with high-risk profiles, and still have buyers lining up when it's time to sell them on the secondary market. That's exactly where the Corolla Cross Hybrid fits in perfectly. Fuel savings are the most obvious advantage you notice right away. Hybrids in this category cut your monthly gas spending considerably compared to traditional gas-only midsize SUVs. Over a few years of ownership, that means real, tangible money going straight back into your pocket. But what most buyers don't see clearly is how that upfront efficiency totally changes everything else in the equation. Lower fuel costs mean lower total cost of ownership across the board. And J.D. Power's cost of ownership rankings consistently reward vehicles that keep your monthly expenses totally predictable, without any surprises. Now let's talk seriously about depreciation, the silent value killer. J.D. Power's resale value trends show consistently that Toyota hybrids hold their value better than the vast majority of compact SUVs out there. Why does this happen? Because demand for efficient, low-maintenance used vehicles keeps growing exponentially, especially when gas prices fluctuate wildly and create uncertainty. That means when the time comes to trade it in or sell it, you won't take the same devastating financial hit as owners of bigger, thirstier SUVs. Insurance and maintenance are the quiet wins nobody talks about. Smaller SUVs generally fall into significantly lower insurance categories than three-row family haulers. And Toyota's hybrid systems have one of the longest, least problematic track records in the auto industry. Less daily stress, fewer nasty surprises, absolute predictability. That kind of predictable boring ends up feeling really smart financially after 5 years of ownership. That's why SUVs like the Corolla Cross Hybrid deserve to be in any serious conversation about the best SUVs to buy in 2026, even if they don't turn heads in a crowded parking lot. And if that surprised you, wait until you see what happens when that same quietly smart formula gets applied to a much bigger, more versatile SUV. Number 3. The Toyota RAV4. Boring until you've owned it for years. And people love to say over and over that the Toyota RAV4 is boring and lacks personality. And J.D. Power's data basically says that's exactly why it works so well long-term. Here's what most buyers don't fully get. SUVs that feel exciting on day one often turn financially draining by day 1001. The Toyota RAV4 wins in the long game because it acts like a reliable appliance. You don't think about it constantly. You don't worry when you turn the key. It just works without drama. J.D. Power's cost of ownership and resale value trends consistently favor vehicles that don't surprise owners with dramatic depreciation or problematic repair patterns that pop up out of nowhere. And that's been the RAV4's exclusive territory for years on end. Depreciation is where the Toyota RAV4 quietly embarrasses a lot of its direct competitors. According to J.D. Power's resale value data, The Toyota RAV4 holds its value better than the vast majority of SUVs in its competitive category. And that matters more than people really think. Even if you never plan to sell it in your life, depreciation is still money you're losing from the exact moment you drive off the lot. The RAV4 just loses less value over time. The hybrid version takes this from smart to strategically financially brilliant. Real-world mileage in the mid-30s to low 40s per gallon totally changes what ownership means month to month. You're not constantly checking gas prices with anxiety, and unlike making the risky jump to a full EV, you don't have to rearrange your life around public charging stations. The cost of ownership models often favor hybrids precisely for this core reason: lower fuel spending without introducing new long-term unknowns about infrastructure. Insurance is another quiet advantage nobody mentions. Since the Toyota RAV4 is widely driven, well understood by insurers, and packed with standard safety tech, it tends to land in more predictable insurance categories than flashier or higher performance SUVs. It's not spectacularly impressive, but after a few years, it's real money staying in your bank account. The RAV4 doesn't win by wowing you in the mall parking lot. It wins by being the SUV you don't regret later. Fewer costly surprises, better resale value, lower fuel spending, and ownership costs that stay boring in the best possible way. That's why year after year, J.D. Power keeps ranking it among the smartest buys for anyone who actually plans to live with their vehicle long-term. Now let's totally change the game, because the next SUV only shows its true value when the weather turns vicious against you. Number 4, the Subaru Outback, the SUV that never panics. There's a solid reason the Outback doesn't radically change its personality every few years. It wasn't designed to chase fleeting market trends. It was built to handle real weather, real roads, and real ownership experience over time. And J.D. Power's ownership and resale data often consistently reward vehicles that age gracefully instead of trying to look brand new every model cycle. Let's start with what really matters in half the country with harsh weather. The Outback's full-time all-wheel drive comes standard from the factory, not as a pricey optional add-on. And that goes beyond just driving comfort. In states with persistent snow and intense rainy climates, all-wheel drive vehicles tend to log fewer weather-related incidents, which can positively influence long-term risk profiles for insurers. Insurers set their rates based on statistical risk, and J.D. Power's cost of ownership analyses often favor vehicles that lower the odds of costly, repeated claims. The Outback quietly checks that important box. Then, there's the proven real-world longevity. J.D. Power's long-term reliability trends show that Subaru owners keep their vehicles way longer than average. And not just because they like them emotionally. These are SUVs that frequently hit high mileage with standard routine maintenance. And the Outback doesn't chase unnecessary cutting-edge tech or overly complex systems that fail. And that restraint shows up years later, when other SUVs start feeling fragile and troublesome. Fewer weird, unexplained breakdowns. Fewer moments of why the heck did this break now. Resale value is the other half of the story that people often totally underestimate. J.D. Power's resale data consistently shows the Outback holding its value better than many competitors in its specific segment. Demand stays strong in the used market, especially in regions with marked winters and severe weather. That means when it's time to sell or trade it in, you don't face the brutal value drop that hits crossovers once their design novelty wears off. The Outback isn't exciting in the way TV commercials try to sell artificial thrills, but it's exciting in the way it makes your life simpler. It starts every morning without drama. It feels solid when the weather gets dicey. It holds its value when you decide to move on. That's why, year after year, J.D. Power keeps rating it as one of the smartest long-term buys in the SUV segment. And if you think capability always means sacrificing comfort, the next SUV quietly shatters that preconceived idea. Number 5, the Lexus NX Hybrid, where comfort meets common sense. Some SUVs impress for about 10 minutes at the dealership. This one impresses years after the purchase. J.D. Power's long-term ownership and resale data point to a small group of SUVs that manage to balance comfort, efficiency, and financial sense. The Lexus NX Hybrid sits right at that perfect intersection. It delivers the quiet, refined experience people expect from an established luxury brand, but without the typical cost penalties that usually creep in once the warranty's gone. What sets it apart is under-the-surface luxury. The NX Hybrid leans on Toyota's proven hybrid tech, systems with a long track record of durability in real daily driving conditions. J.D. Power consistently ranks Lexus at the top among luxury brands for resale value and owner satisfaction. And it's not because these vehicles feel sophisticated on day one. It's because they keep behaving predictably over time. Fuel efficiency is the first quiet win you notice right away. Owning a hybrid changes the rhythm of daily driving. Fewer trips to the gas station every week. Less stress when fuel prices spike. The J.D. Power's cost of ownership models often favor hybrids for this reason. They cut ongoing operating costs without forcing you to rearrange your life around charging, like with a full EV. Depreciation is where this SUV really pulls away from most of its luxury competitors. And that doesn't just matter if you plan to sell it. It defines your total cost of ownership from day one. Losing less value over time is one of the simplest ways to pay less for a vehicle, without changing a thing about how you drive it. Then there's the daily use experience. The NX Hybrid is serene, quiet, and easy to live with. The tech is modern, but not overwhelming. The interior feels premium without being delicate. Insurance tends to stay more predictable than with flashier luxury SUVs. And maintenance patterns look more like a mainstream brand's reliability than the typical luxury segment's unpredictability. It's the kind of SUV that fits into your life instead of demanding the spotlight, and that brings us to the last SUV that has many wondering why they were even considering something bigger or pricier. Number 6. The Honda CR-V Hybrid, the silent knockout. This is the SUV that makes a lot of luxury and full-size models look like bad financial calls. Not because it's spectacular, but because the numbers don't lie. J.D. Power's cost of ownership and resale value data point to a simple truth for 2026 buyers. The CR-V Hybrid wins where ownership really hurts or helps. Monthly fuel spending, depreciation, and long-term reliability. It's the kind of SUV that doesn't try to wow you with tricks on day one, but quietly saves you money month after month, year after year. It keeps total ownership costs low from multiple angles at once. Real-world hybrid efficiency cuts fuel bills without pushing you into the uncertainty of a full EV. You don't change your habits. You just spend less every time you fill up. Insurance stays predictable because it's a well-known platform, focused on safety and easy for insurers to assess. And Honda's hybrid systems are built to age without drama. Exactly what J.D. Power's long-term ownership models often reward. Fewer surprises, fewer painful repair cycles once the warranty ends. Resale value is the true silent knockout. According to J.D. Power Trends, CR-V hybrids hold their value better than a huge chunk of the SUV market, including many luxury and three-row models that look impressive but depreciate harder. And that matters whether you plan to keep it for many years or trade it in a few down the line. Losing less value is one of the easiest ways to lower the real cost of owning any vehicle. Here's the uncomfortable truth about buying an SUV in 2026. The moment you drive off the lot, that vehicle's story changes. The ads fade, the new car smell vanishes, and what's left is the reality of ownership. Fuel payments, insurance renewals, maintenance schedules, and silent depreciation working in the background. That's where this list really lives. J.D. Power's rankings don't reward SUVs that look impressive in a parking lot. They reward the ones that still make sense when the honeymoon's over. The ones that don't slowly drain your budget. The ones that age with you and not against you. If there's one clear takeaway, it's this. The best SUV isn't the one that steals glances on day one. It's the one that still feels like the right call on day 1000. Sometimes the smartest play isn't buying something bigger, faster, or more luxurious. It's buying the SUV that lets you forget about it because it just works. If this breakdown helped you see SUVs in a totally different way and avoid costly mistakes, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Every week we bring content like this that could save you thousands on bad buying decisions. Now I want to hear from you. If you had to invest your own money in 2026, which SUV from this list would you actually pick and why? Drop it in the comments. See you in the next video.